To hear Senate Democrats, Republicans are using stalling tactics to block votes on several important policy issues in this year-end congressional session. Well, Republicans see it differently. They say what they're doing is demanding time for open debate, and they see Democrats pushing what our next guest calls a liberal wish list designed to curry favor with Democratic interest groups. So what will pass and what will stall in the lame duck session? Let's get the sense of Arizona's senior senator, Republican John McCain. Senator, it's good to see you. I want to start with an issue that I know is critically important to you, and that is the new assessment of the Afghanistan war strategy that came out today. You've seen the strategy. You've been to the region many times, and you heard from the president today. The president says he believes the troop surge and the idea that the drawdown will begin in 2011 is one of the reasons he thinks things are working better. I saw your statement where you say, don't focus on a date, focus on progress on the ground. I want you to listen here, though, to the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs, General Cartwright. Does this concern you?
What they've said is that at 2011 to 2014, there is a drawdown. What is being negotiated and what will be adjusted is the rate of that drawdown. Troops will come out.
Troops will come out. He's adamant about that. Is that all right?
General Cartwright, I don't know where he's coming from, but I've always said that if the enemy thinks you're leaving, they're going to wait you out. And so I hope that we made very clear that the operative year is 2014.
Well, let's move on to another big national security issue. The Senate is considering the START treaty, a nuclear arms reduction treaty the president negotiated with Russia. I know you've had some questions about the missile defense aspects of that, but I want you to listen to one of your Republican colleagues, Jeff Sessions, on the floor today. Yes, the United States would reduce its nuclear arsenal under this treaty, but I want you to listen to Senator Sessions and tell me on the other side here, do you believe the cuts are so severe that what he says is actually possible?
If Iran and North Korea risk their security and their financial futures on building a nuclear arsenal today, will our example cause them to stop? I think not. Rather, I must conclude it will embolden them and could even embolden others.
That fair statement, Senator, in the sense that even if you have all the cuts included in this treaty, the United States would still have the largest or the second largest nuclear arsenal in the world.
Well, I agree with Senator Sessions, particularly in the area where I don't believe that another START treaty would have any beneficial effect on other rogue nations that are attempting to acquire or have developed nuclear weapons, such as North Korea or Iran. But having said that, I don't think it would embolden them either. I think that this treaty is going to stand on or fall on its own merits. And as you mentioned, my concerns are about missile defenses, both in the preamble of the treaty, the signing statement that the Russians made, that any improvement that we might make in missile defenses in Europe would be grounds for them abrogating the treaty. Again, I don't think that whether we ratify the START treaty or not is going to affect Iranian or North Korean or other rogue nations' behavior in the slightest.
You have been saying in recent hours to the Tea Partiers out there, pick up your pitchforks. You have long been a critic of earmarks. Long before there was a Tea Party, John McCain was railing against earmarks. When the Democrats brought forward this 1,900-page bill, you jumped on it. You said it was an outrage. But I want to be clear, there are loads and dozens of Republican earmarks in there. And my understanding of it is that any of the Republicans could have gone to the Appropriations Committee and said, look, we just promised not to have these earmarks, so take mine out. Yet they're still in there. Is this a bipartisan plague?
It is a bipartisan plague, and we have Republican senators who may vote in favor of this atrocity, monstrosity and atrocity. And by the way, I was speaking rhetorically when I said, go pick up your pitchforks, please. Let me make that clear. But look, this is really a total contradiction and abrogation of the commitment and the message of November the 2nd. And we Republicans had better understand we've got a second chance because of our excesses of the Bush administration, and I'm not sure they'll forgive us another time. And you saw the approval rating of 13% of Congress. Well, you can't get much lower, and if we do this to them, then I don't know where it goes, down to blood relatives and paid staffers.
Don't ask, don't tell is a big debate on the Senate floor. It's also a bit of a debate within your own family. Your daughter, Megan, was on MSNBC last night, and she said this is the civil rights issue of her generation. Can you now vote, after listening to the Pentagon, after listening to everybody else, will you now vote to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell and allow gay Americans to serve openly?
John, I paid very close attention to our military leaders, as I said I would. Commandant of the Marine Corps says it's going to cost lives of Marines. The Chief of Staff of the Army said that it could cause disruption, and he is opposed to doing it this time. Chief of Staff of the Air Force said at least wait until 2012. So our military leaders have spoken fairly strongly, 3 out of the 4 service chiefs. They are military leaders. So what I'm hoping is that we can turn this back now, look at a path in the future that when it's right to do so. We're in 2 wars, and I believe that right now it would not be the right time to repeal it, and that's my position, and I will hold it.
You mentioned the Commandant of the Marine Corps, Senator. I asked this next question not to be disrespectful, but because I know you as someone who takes the long trips, who does the research, who talks to the troops as well as their bosses. You mentioned the Commandant of the Marine Corps. He is against this. Your son has been in the Marines. He has served on the front lines, and this is often a generational issue. Older Americans have a harder time with this than sometimes younger Americans. What does your son think about this?
You know, my son is now out of the Marine Corps. It's the proudest moments of his life is having served in the Marine Corps. His words to me, as so many thousands of others' words have been to me, it isn't broke, don't fix it.
So he wants to keep it just in place as it is right now?
They believe that it is working, and I'm very reluctant to discuss my children's views.
I understand that. I asked only because of his service, and you mentioned the Commandant. Let me ask you lastly, Senator, after the presidential election, there was some talk that once the wounds healed a little bit, that you would have a relationship with President Obama, perhaps be someone he reached out to. What do the Republicans think? Perhaps help him, especially on these security issues. When we come back in January, the Republicans will control the House, and the Republicans will be just short of control in the Senate. So the president's going to need some help. He's going to have to reach out more. What's the status of that relationship? Does he pick up the phone now and call you, and maybe we don't know about it? Do you have any sort of a back and forth that could be helpful to both of you in this new environment?
Well, I did have a conversation with the president about the issue of START and how to go about it, and it was a very cordial conversation, I think, but I have not had any other conversations. But I look forward to working with him. I just had a meeting with his new national security advisor, and we covered a lot of bases. I look forward to working with the president and his new national security advisor. As you know, I'm a great admirer of the Secretary of Defense, so we have certainly good grounds for cooperation in a very dangerous world.
Senator John McCain, as always, appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.